Welcome to Visualize, the podcast where collaboration fuels change. I'm your host, Chris Baker, and each week we'll explore incredible connections between nonprofits, businesses, and the community. This is a space where we highlight inspiring partnerships, uncover strategies for creating meaningful impact, and share stories that show how working together can make all the difference. Whether you're a nonprofit leader, a business owner, or someone just passionate about building connections, this podcast is for you. Welcome back to another episode of Visualize. Before we kick off today's episode, I want to say a huge thank you to our incredible brand partner, Tosh Jr. with Dream Vacations. Whether you're planning a luxury getaway, a group trip, or a vacation of a lifetime, Tosh makes your travel effortless. He brings personal service, exclusive deals, expert guidance to every booking so you can relax and just pack. We're proud to have Tosh and Dream Vacations supporting this podcast. Visit tjunior.dreamvacations.com or check the show notes so you can plan your next vacation. Now, let's jump back into the episode. Today, we have Jordan Guzman with Art and Its Meaning, also AIM. So, Art and Its Meaning, or AIM, is a nonprofit dedicated to promoting self-care through the arts. Their mission is to provide free or low-cost programming that makes the arts accessible and healing for everyone. So, welcome, Jordan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Chris.
Yeah. So, what inspired you to use art as your tool for healing and care?
Ooh, okay. Personally, art has been a deeply transformative experience, a skill that lay dormant in me throughout most of my adolescence. And through just personal circumstances and life happenings at 17, I woke up and realized after taking an art class my last semester in high school, I decided to become an artist right there. And I wasn't doing that great in school. And my guidance counselors were, kind of giving me my options. And one of them said, we have some electives that you can take. We have art available. And I said, okay, I think I want to do art. And I had not done art since in school, not really consistently since elementary school when I had, we did ceramics and we all sat at a big table and did that. And I did little things here and there, but it was never a really central part of my upbringing. And then at 17, I took that class and I did amazing. I exploded creatively and I could not stop creating. That's all I wanted to do. My mom works in special education for early childhood education. And I would go to her center and work with all her kids' art tools, like the little tiny baby easels. And I was there like using all these materials. And I decided to be an artist right then and there. And for me, it wasn't a question of if I was going to become an artist, but when I was going to become an artist. And art helped me map out a process to bring understanding of what was going on in my inner world without, you don't have words for it. That's why it's a visual language, because it is a language, but you don't need words. It's something you can look at, you can sense, you can feel and resonate with. And I needed that for I'm a bit of an ambivert, but being a highly sensitive person and not really understanding how my inner world and inner landscape was shifting all the time, depending on the information I was gathering from the outside world. Mm-hmm. And it gave me a funnel. And then I could look at it, whatever I was creating, and be like, oh, okay, this is what's happening, and kind of capture that, in a frame so that I can process my emotions, process what was happening in my life, and then kind of move on from that. So that's what it means to me personally. And through Art and Its Meaning, I went to school for fine arts also. And I got a BFA in, a Bachelor's of Fine Arts, and then I specialized in painting. And through through that, I learned how to use the tools of making art to create a finished work of art. And I really liked that structure of by the end of your track or my track, I had to decide what my art was going to be about. And I was always concerned with my creative voice. What is my voice? What do I want to say? I always had a deeper sense of purpose. Even when I was younger, I didn't know how, but I always felt like I wanted to do something really important. So that helped me to help other people, to use the organization to help other people to find their own creative voice. And that's why art is personally meaningful to me and really shows through in AIM and how I work with the community.
Awesome. Okay. So can you tell me a little bit more about the design programs that AIM has that helps keep people feeling safe and welcoming?
Ooh, okay. So part of our mission and vision is that art is accessible to all regardless of their background. And my business partner, Melissa Danielson, she couldn't be here today, but her and I met through teaching art together after we both graduated college, and then we taught preschool together, preschool arts. And we, teaching in private schools is a little unique because you get this like really great art experience, but it's also expensive to be in a private school getting this kind of art programming. And we were kind of stressed out, tired preschool teachers, and we would go to La Bamba. And after that, after work, and then we would just dream about being able to bring what we were learning there and bring just like a solid art education to the public and making it accessible for people, because not everybody can enter into, a small, expensive boutique space and get that kind of programming. So we're like, what if we, create a program, or what if we create something where we can be around other artists, where we can share what we do with the community, and then just have a low barrier to entry to do that. So that really inspired our programming. So initially when we started, we didn't have all three programs that we do now. We really dreamed up a space because we're artists, we just come out of college, and when you're in college, everybody around you is eating, drinking, sleeping, art all the time.
Sure.
And you get out of that world and you're like, okay, and now I have to make a life for myself. And it's not all art 24/7. You're talking to either your partner or family members that don't have that same language, and it can be really isolating. So we wanted to create a community to keep that going. And the difference, what made us a little unique too was, and this really lends to making it accessible to everyone, is that even in art school, you learn how to use very big words and very fancy language about art. And it's really conceptual. And sometimes it can be hard for the everyday person to just make art just for making art. And even that in some art circles is like, you make art for this highly conceptual idea, and it goes into a gallery and you read the artist statement and you can barely understand what it means, when really art is just an essential program as a human, just to create. We're creative beings. Like, nature is always creating and we're a part of nature. So we were kind of like, how can we remove all of that stuff and just have something that's like, we want to present it. We want other artists to gather in community and just talk about what their art means to them. And that's where our name came from too, was art and its meaning. And we wanted to like interpret art like a dream. It's very subjective. It's personal. Like, who am I to tell you that what you're creating is good or bad, or can only be validated with this kind of language or in this sphere, as if it's like almost like a scarcity, like it's only for a few, it's art isn't, it can't be for everyone.
Yeah, no, and art is for everyone. And it's figuring out, like, we all have our own different tastes and different likes and different preferences, but everybody has an inner artist or creativity person inside them. So I feel like they can paint or do it, and it may not look like the best, it may not be Picasso, or it may not be somebody that's really famous, or they can recreate the Mona Lisa, but it's their interpretation, it's their soul that's coming out in this work of art.
That's right. Yeah. And who can argue with your soul? Like who am I, or who is anybody to say, like, to define or to place judgment on what you've created, right? Even putting in that sense. So we wanted to create initially that space for artists to just talk, and we were very adamant about using specific language that would help support that, like the inclusivity and the encouragement. So we didn't, the way we structured it was, artists came and they brought their artwork and they would put it up, and we could either do it one of two ways. The artist wasn't really sure what they were creating, so they would just put it up, and then the group that was just there being supportive could ask them questions about it, or just kind of read into it. And then the artist after would say, like, wow, I didn't even know that my art was giving this, like, whatever it was. And the feedback really came in was, wow, that was really not my intention for it to say that, but that's what it's communicating. So these are the changes I might want to make as an artist to better reflect my intention. Or it was like, wow, I didn't know my artwork was communicating that, and it's spot on because that's what I was feeling inside, and I'm glad it's reflecting that. So that was a different point of view to give feedback, rather than, looking at it and being like, the color is wrong, this is off, from that perspective. So we really created a supportive environment by that shift in language, and really being protective of that.
No, I appreciate that. That's very important, especially as we're building community, giving somebody a safe space, but also giving them an opportunity to expand. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what other local partners have you helped by bringing AIM into their life?
Ooh, okay. So one of the partners that we created unexpectedly was, we have been working with Zero Empty Spaces from when we started, and that's a community initiative led by Evan Snow, and that gives affordable spaces for artists to create their artwork in retail spaces. So when Melissa and I, we had this idea, we were like, okay, we're going to rent out a space in Moksha House, which was a yoga studio here in Fort Lauderdale. And we rented out the space, and like 2 people showed up, but we were super happy. It didn't matter. And one of the artists that came, her name was Sandy Rose, she was like, hey, I rent these space out as Zero Empty Spaces, and I used to rent out a space in Zero Empty Spaces like a year back or something. And I was like, yeah, I'm really familiar. And she was like, well, why don't you come to our studio and do this there? And we were like, oh my gosh, that would be so brilliant, because the yoga house was great, but we now could go straight to where the artists were. So we went, and then I think the second critique event that we did there had 20 people now, 20 artists. And we were like, oh my gosh, like this was so great. So that was really great, because Zero Empty Spaces really wants the artists to put together these kinds of events. And for artists, like, we can get really isolated very fast because we're so introspective, and we want to be, in our study and kind of grinding away at our artwork. But it really, through that collaboration, it really helped kind of get the artists out of just their spaces, and not only to practice public speaking and to practice talking about their artwork in front of people. Some of the artists had never shared it in front of their peers. Like they didn't have that. And they didn't have it in the particular language that we were trying to foster. And they were probably just used to customers, right? Talking to potential clients, etc., but not like, can I just talk about what my art means to me? And just it makes sense when you talk to other artists because we also speak that language. So it was really great and helpful in both ways because we got to reach a whole network of artists, and then they also got to practice talking about their artwork in a small group environment. That was really supportive.
That's awesome. Very awesome.
Thank you.
I do have one more question. So how can teachers and community centers collaborate with this model?
Okay, so we're in the process right now of creating programs and curriculums to collaborate specifically with schools. We already collaborate with Title I schools, and Title I schools have this classification because they serve just I don't know how to say it, but just families in need in the community that are under-resourced. And so we have partnered with West Hollywood Elementary School to bring our programming to one of their family nights. So we've already started on that, and we're developing a more thorough program now that we did some fundraising last year, and we'll do fundraising again in November to help bring a low-cost program to Title I schools and to just schools in general to kind of facilitate that, because the art budgets have been cut. Some have either like very little resources, if they even have an art teacher at all. And the art that we do, we keep it low cost because we use a lot of recyclable materials. So we go to Resource Depot in West Palm Beach, and we get a lot of recyclable materials for not that much money. So that really helps us extend our programming and be able to do it at a low cost. That's, we're not putting that cost to the schools. So that's how we're able to collaborate with schools. And also we can keep doing that and making sure that it's sustainable also.
Sustainability is very important, because once somebody gets into wanting to do art or make art and they get it taken away because they don't have the resources or ability to continue it, that can kind of, we don't want that to happen. So I do appreciate that. That's looking at longevity. So what is, besides that and bringing it to more schools, what is your next collaboration? What are you hoping to do next?
We're really hoping to do, like I mentioned earlier, to really partner with schools on a long-term basis. So because they might not have access to arts, as of right now, we've only been doing like community events where families can come, but we really want to get into the schools that don't have the resources to have a sustainable art program and to give it to them. So we really want to spend time fleshing that out, and hopefully also building partnerships with the teachers too, and showing them how to integrate, even if they don't have the money for a whole arts program or even a low cost one, but also teaching them, how can I embed the arts into my lessons already at a very low cost, if anything at all. So that means having a corner of the classroom where the kids maybe, have bottle caps and they collect them, and then they can do a collaborative mural using these, recyclable materials. So those kinds of framework, like shifting the framework for a lot of teachers in how to just embed the arts into what they're already doing, so it can be sustainable for them too. Because if that's going to keep happening, the budget cuts and all of that, like, we have to adapt. And, being there as a resource for the experience that both Melissa and I have had, each with over 10 years experience in art education, like, we can really help shift shift the thinking to, how do we just make art into an everyday part of what we do at school instead of this special elective one time a week, and you can get it, all week long, let's say.
Right. So how do people get involved or help with AIM?
So to get involved with AIM, you can visit our website, artanditsmeaning.org. And through there, you can donate. We have a donate button. So what the partnerships that we're really looking for is to help us expand through our programming. So somebody could donate art supplies with us. Somebody can donate venues for our events. That really helps. Someone can also give us leads and partnerships and say, hey, this school or this organization really wants to partner with you. And so they can go through our website and then contact us through there. And our email address is it's artanditsmeaning@gmail.com. And they can email us directly because we're open to all kinds of partnerships also.
Excellent. So I really want to go back and say a huge thank you to Tosh Jr. and Dream Vacations for being a brand partner for this episode of Visualize Podcast. And so my final question as we wrap up is my favorite question I ask everybody on the show. What is the legacy you personally want to leave for future generations?
That's such a beautiful question. AIM's legacy that we want to leave is to show people that art is an essential pillar of well-being. Just as much as any other pillar, we think it's like a forgotten thing that's, left on, art is for later, it's for fun, it's a luxury to be creative. And we really want to leave that lasting impact that it's an essential part of being human and that it's for everyone.
Beautiful. Jordan, thank you so much for being on the show today. It has been a pleasure. Stay tuned to the next episode of Visual Eyes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Visual Eyes. We hope that the inspiration and practical insights can help you foster stronger connections and meaningful change. Don't forget to subscribe, share the episode, and leave us a review. To learn more about Visuals by Momo and how we support collaboration and storytelling, visit visualsbymomo.com. A huge thank you to everyone out there listening. Until next time, remember, collaboration fuels change, and your connections can inspire the world.